Hello and welcome to today's broadcast. I'm Davina, chatting to you briefly today about a few things. First of all, the former president, as we know, has been indicted with a bunch of conspiring to hide documents from his own lawyer, from government officials, conspiring to keep national defense documents at his own home, stored in a bathroom shower, in a bathroom, in a bedroom, on a ballroom stage, and also boasting of these documents, or rather referring to the contents of top secret documents to people without classification. Some of Mark Meadows' biographers, to whom he was trying to sell a narrative of, hey, Bob, nice to see you, sell a narrative of his hands were clean with regards to intending to attack Iran. So if you heard about it, Susan Glasser did a piece in 2021 in The New Yorker about Trump having wanted to attack Iran in the final days of his administration, and General Milley of the Armed Forces in the United States having to try and dissuade him from doing so, and to say, don't escalate this conflict, don't pick 53 religious and culturally significant sites in Iran to bomb. That's not cool, President at the time, Trump. And Trump didn't like that story. He didn't like being exposed as the person pushing for war, because, bless him, he also wanted to enjoy the narrative of being such a peaceful president, to contrast himself to other presidents. He's so special, he's unique, he ends wars, he ends the fighting between Ukraine and Russia by just simply handing over Ukraine to his pal Putin. I presume that's his plan for if, as he said, he's the only one who could stop the war between them on his first day in office. Now, Trump will never again gain a plurality of votes in the United States. He's quite unpopular with a lot of people, even though he's still obviously very popular as the white supremacy champion for a bunch of misguided people who have become so tribalistic in their thinking, they're completely immune to evidence that Trump acts with disregard for the national security of America and its people. He acts with callous disregard for the security and safety of people who have devoted their lives to defending the United States and protecting its national security by working as intelligence operatives. Trump constantly is compromising the safety of other people. We saw that during COVID. It's been highlighted by the speaking indictment released by Special Prosecutor Jack Smith, who included a lot of the very robust sounding evidence that Trump is on tape, disclosing classified information and holding documents in front of people who should not be in the same room as those documents that are so top secret they should only be viewed by people with classification permission in a secure compartment. What are they called? SCIFs. So let's have a look at Doral, because Doral is where Trump has just flown into in Miami. Jake Tapper got caught up in the pomp and ceremony of the former president's effort to appear like a strongman with pomp and circumstance. He had all these cars, and Jake Tapper referred to it as the presidential motorcade. We'll listen to that in a second. Let's just have a look here, because this is the moment Trump passed his supporters, and there's a suburban car. Look at the reflection. You can see how few people there are. This is by a Twitter account called Riot Women that I follow. Some are likely reporters and photographers. So yeah, that does not look like a crowd. It looks pretty thin. Somebody says, a Trump supporter says, so what? Sadly, the Gestapo has made people afraid to even show up in the event they find a reason to lock them up, as they have the January 6th protesters, many who are innocent and never even breached the Capitol. what a lie. There's been slaps on the wrist for people who breached the Capitol, and fortunately longer sentences with more of a deterrent effect on the people who committed violence, planned violence, brought weapons to the Capitol, brought weapons to a holding place just across the Potomac. And yeah, because there's been seditious conspiracy sentences for Stuart Rhodes and some of his other co-conspirators. They've been handed out the longest sentences. And of course, the account I follow, Riot Women, says Trump has no business asking people to come. How stupid. He caused hundreds of people to have criminal records and huge legal bills. He did zero to help them, and now is trying to do it to them again. Of course, he is, because he's transactional and exploitative, like a true fascist, someone who uses their grifty con artist charisma to weaponize people's dissatisfaction, their discontents, particularly if those have a foundational basis in white supremacy, whereby they feel that they are the authentic, deserving demographic in the United States, and other people are the interlopers or former or descendants of slaves, and therefore in a hierarchical system are inherently less worthy of government help, public funds in any way, and just the public's regard and trust. So people who think in those dysfunctional hierarchical ways tended to flock to Trump and support him and continue to support him, even in the context of a plethora of evidence of his mismanagement of COVID, his willful mismanagement of COVID, particularly along state lines, whereby he was disfavoring blue states and trying to show that he was more devoted to helping red states, and that he thought he could just cut states off from aid for being disloyal or for having a disloyal governor. And of course, there was that important expose piece in Vanity Fair called Jared Kushner's and the COVID testing plans that went poof. I recommend people Google that article for themselves, because it contains an assertion from a whistleblower who was part of Jared Kushner's team for developing a federal testing plan, and that the plan was abandoned, the testing scheme was abandoned, because it was felt that it wouldn't be politically savvy to proceed with that plan, when instead you could just not have a federal testing plan for COVID, and it would continue to escalate predominantly in blue states, and that then those blue state governors could be blamed for the increase in COVID. So that was the whistleblower assertion of someone who spoke to a journalist from Vanity Fair in 2020. And it was a shocking assertion. But I saw a comedian the other day say he'd figured out the formula for responding to news about Trump. It's disappointment plus surprise squared, because you're surprised that you're disappointed, and disappointed that you're surprised, and then also disappointed that you're disappointed, and disappointed that you're surprised. All of those magnifications of your emotions, because you don't want to be capable of being surprised by Trump anymore, yet sometimes you can be just even surprised that he's been caught, or surprised that people, that it doesn't visibly dent the passions of his most fervent, adhesively glued on supporters. Although, as I always like to remind people, even though we see, we're still seeing evidence of passionate Trump support, what we're not seeing is the erosion at the margins. We're not seeing those conservative-leaning voters who reconsider their previous votes for Trump, and they may not want to publicly admit it, but perhaps they are ready to dissociate themselves from him, and potentially who even feel that the Republican brand is being tarnished by the full-throated support and endorsement still of Republican representatives who still pretend to believe that Trump has done nothing wrong, and pretend to believe that government has been weaponized against this man who shouldn't be held responsible for crimes, who shouldn't be held accountable for any of his jeopardizing of the national security because he's a former president, and that's unheard of. Trump's been often convicted out of his own mouth when he's admitted that he thinks he's entitled to keep all the documents he wants. He thinks he's entitled to keep documents that are declassified. I mean, he's not. The Presidential Records Act says you have to return presidential documents. Even if you declassified them, you have to return them. They are supposed to be collected. That's part of the Presidential Records Act, which was put into being after Nixon, who also stole things for his own purposes. And Donald Trump seems to believe that because some documents were retrieved from Nixon by buying them off him, that this should be the case with him, that people should try and buy the documents from him. He clearly sees some transactional value in illegally holding on to things that he stole during his tenure as President of the United States. So Bob makes a comment. I hear Trump can't find a good law firm to represent him in Florida. Maybe the judge will have to appoint a public defender for him. I feel that the judge doesn't have to do that because of his reported income, but there are perhaps other conditions that he could fulfill if he can't obtain legal representation. Let's not forget as well that the judge is Eileen Cannon, who's already shown a remarkable appetite for humiliating herself by giving Trump undue preference that has no legal basis or precedent. And then she gets rebuked by even other conservative judges on other circuits of the American judicial system. So that lady, a Trump appointee, Judge Eileen Cannon, she's one to watch out for, but at the same time, the weight of evidence against Trump is so damning. One feels even a judge is prepared to humiliate herself and look foolish. And I can hear my husband unwrapping something. What is he unwrapping? Maybe some snacks. Anyway, I had better go. I will come, darling. All right. So yes, Doral. The low levels of support from Trump supporters in Doral we can attribute to people's caution and concern in his target demographic because of January the 6th, because of the actual legal system working as it's supposed to, with the deterrent effect of the sentences given, and even the minor inconvenience of the smaller sentences are all helping to pull enthusiasm, to erode enthusiasm for violent protest on the part of the most cult-like devotees of the white champion of white supremacist, former President Donald J. Trump. Have a good day. Thanks to any replay viewers. My name's Davina. It's been a pleasure getting to put my thoughts out there on the internet, and I hope it sparks thoughts and reflection on the part of other people. Nice to see you as always, Bob. Have a great day. Everyone take care, stay safe, and make an effort to engage with facts and combat hierarchical thinking and propaganda whenever you can. It's like a muscle. It strengthens the more you use it. Cheers. Bye.